Back here at the Seneca Niagara Resort and Casino here in Niagara Falls, New York, getting set for our co-feature, 8 rounds in the super featherweight division as Harmonito Dela Torre puts his undefeated record up for grabs against Guillermo Sanchez. Now let's meet the fighters. Here is our ring announcer, David Diamante.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, making his way to the ring, he'll be fighting out of the blue corner from Buffalo, New York, Guillermo the Vampire Sanchez.
Guillermo Sanchez. This is the first time in his career, 34 fights, that he will be fighting at home on television. Steve, he hasn't had a good luck so far over his recent 18 fights, but believes that things are going to change in this fight.
Yeah, it's been a tale of two careers. It's the best of times and the worst of times. He began his career 11-0, but as you mentioned, the last 18, he's just 2-16.
Now let's meet his opponent here tonight, who's excited to make his way stateside. Let's send it up to ring announcer David Diamante to meet him.
And his opponent, he'll be fighting out of the red corner. He is undefeated from General Santos City in the Philippines, Harmonito Dela Torre.
Harmonito Dela Torre, with the record of 17 wins, no losses out of the Philippines, models himself after Manny Pacquiao, actually fought on a couple of Pacquiao undercards in Macau, and there is a lot of people that believe that he could be the next coming. Patrick.
Yes, he is a very talented fighter. He has a big right hand. He's a fast starter, and he says all the Filipinos fighters' dream is to come over to the United States and fight on TV, and that's one of his dreams too. And let's see how he does tonight in front of the lights here in the United States.
And Steve, we saw him take a little bit of time before he got into the ring. He was soaking it all in.
Yeah, and you know, this is a highly touted guy to the Philippines, and the question is this guy going to be more more Manny Pacquiao or more Marvin Sonsana?
And let's take a look at our teletape, Steve.
And Guillermo Sanchez, despite all the fights that he has in the recent skid, 27 years old, everything else is about the same. Dela Torre, though, with a decided weight advantage.
Now let's send it over to our ring announcer, David Diamante.
Ladies and gentlemen, from Niagara Resort and Casino, we are set to go with our co-featured bout of the evening, and it's all being brought to you by Greg Cohen Promotions in association with Fight Card Promotions and David Schuster's Winner Take All Productions. Sponsored by Corona Extra, La Cerveza Más Fina, and the Maxim Group. Sound Investments, Solid Relationships. Your 3 judges scoring this contest from ringside: Don Ackerman, Terry Johnson, and Tom Schreck. At the sound of the bell, your third man in the ring will be Paul Brown. And now, ladies and gentlemen, 8 rounds of boxing scheduled in the super featherweight division. Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner, he wears the red and blue with white trim. He weighed in at 125.6 pounds. His professional record: 15 victories against 18 defeats. He has 1 draw and 6 wins coming by way of knockout. From Buffalo, New York, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Guillermo the Vampire Sanchez. And his opponent across the ring, fighting out of the red corner. He wears the white with black and gold trim. He weighed in at a ready 131 pounds. His professional record, a perfect one. 17 fights, 17 victories, 12 of them coming by way of knockout. From General Santos City in the Philippines, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Harmonito Dela Torre.
All right, gave you detailed instructions in the back. Obey my commands now. Good luck, gentlemen. Touch them up.
Harmonito Dela Torre, a power puncher with a 71% knockout percentage, is hoping to continue in that streak and start a new streak, remaining undefeated here stateside, but standing in his way, Guillermo Sanchez, and Sanchez comes out immediately throwing a check right hook, and We see Dela Torre coming forward as Sanchez wearing the red, white, and blue, wearing the gold with the white and black. Dela Torre.
Well, Dela Torre likes to start fast. He likes to leap in, and he throws fast combinations. And that right hand, that's his money punch, and it's a looping right hand. And he's fighting a smaller, lighter guy. So we'll see how this fight goes, if it goes many rounds at all.
When we're seeing the footwork, he's right on his toes, Steve, is Dela Torre. 4 straight wins by stoppage.
And you can see Sanchez, tall, lanky southpaw. You know, that's not always the type of style that you want to debut stateside. You want to make an impression here. Obviously, the record speaks for itself, the last 18 fights for Sanchez. But I've always found that when you face southpaws, especially if they have a little bit of size and length, there is a period of adjustment that goes on, and he actually runs into a couple left hands there from Sanchez.
Well, and Sanchez has been in there with some prospects, some top-level competition. Adrian Broner, Edner Cherry, Rodney Rios, Ryan Kilzeski, and Damon Brock, just to name a few.
Yeah, he's not a bad fighter. He's a tough fighter. And like you said, he's been in with a lot of big-name fighters, and he's coming off a win. So he comes in with some confidence, and you can see he's coming to fight.
For Dela Torre, he used to train at times with Manny Pacquiao, so he learned under the legend that is the Pac-Man. The question is, can he, like Pac-Man, eat up Guillermo Sanchez?
You know, you mentioned that name, Ray, and I tell you what, Manny Pacquiao casts an incredible shadow over all Filipino fighters. I think for the past decade, any time there has been a Filipino fighter, whether it's Morben Sonsana, Mercito Hesta, Brian Valoria, or Nonito Donaire, there's always that natural inclination to make that comparison. Quite frankly, I don't think there will ever be another Pacquiao. I think those type of fighters come along once every generation.
And coming forward is Guillermo Sanchez as he's pressing the action. You know, Sanchez made it a point to us to say, as we near 40 seconds in this first round, that fighting at home on television, it motivates him, and he just clips Dela Torre, but Dela Torre unloading. Much of it isn't landing clean, but what a straight left, 2 straight lefts that seem to gain the attention of Dela Torre.
Ray, I don't think there's any doubt about it. This left-handed stance of Sanchez and also the length is really troubling Dela Torre here in round number 1.
Well, I think that goes back to the idea that Dela Torre hasn't really been tested. And tonight, maybe the night he gets tested a little bit, Steve.
Final seconds of this first round between Harmonito Dela Torre and Guillermo Sanchez. On to the second round we go. In the corner of Dela Torre, as we see Osmiro Fernandez talking to Dela Torre.
See the double jab, defense. Let's say defense, right, open, right. See the concentration, Mamuro. Every jab. Body and the
to the body, right?
Armando Ruiz.
His hands come up and tag that body all day, right? Keep moving to your right.
Respira. También, hijo. No te quedes enfrente de él. Utilizando tu jab, la guardia arriba y muévete.
We take a look at some of the action from the previous round. I think Sanchez won with shots like this. Again, Dela Torre facing a tall, lanky left-hander, running into punches like this. Guys, it looked to me like he was very uncomfortable with the southpaw stance of Sanchez.
As we near the second round, Sanchez informed us that Dela Torre can think whatever he wants, but he's going to go out there and just use his game plan and just go to work, and that's exactly what Sanchez is doing. And Patrick, it seems to me like Guillermo Sanchez has motivation by fighting in front of the hometown faithful. You know, he's a father of 5, and his wife is in attendance as well, so it could be that Sanchez may be experiencing one of his best nights.
Yeah, he's fighting very well, and Steve, you're right on the money. That southpaw stance is giving Harmonito all sorts of problems. He doesn't know what to do with it, and we'll see if he can adjust.
You know, Patrick, just looking at their feet early on as they put on my Gil Clancy hat, one of the keys to fighting a southpaw is that as a right-handed fighter, your front foot has to be on the outside of the southpaw. Large majority of the time, the alignment has been very bad for Dela Torre.
There you go.
Yeah, and you can see right there, he's sort of winging his punches. He's throwing that left awkwardly and that looping right hand that he's trying to land because that's his money punch. But he's very uncomfortable, and his feet are all incorrectly aligned.
Yeah, also his punching technique looks very bad tonight. I really wonder if this is the first time he's actually seen a southpaw and facing live bullets. Right now, Sanchez is making life very difficult for Dela Torre.
One for Dela Torre. 8 of his 17 victories have come against guys with winning records, so he has been in there with some decent competition, but still, as he comes forward trying to press, Guillermo Sanchez going to the body. A nice right hand that got through the guard, pushing Sanchez against the ropes, but Sanchez answers back with the straight left, and then he baits him in as to say, come on, let's fight.
Well, I think this is one of the things that Dela Torre is going to have to do. One of the ways to take away or neutralize a southpaw stance is to get as close as possible, and as I like to say, take away a guy's left-handedness and just aim for the chest down and just hit anything and just try to get some offensive rhythm, which quite frankly he hasn't really had throughout the first round and a half.
That was a nice sweeping right cross that landed from the hip of Dela Torre. Now Dela Torre going to work, but he gets caught as he peels right back. He was going backwards with his chin in the air, and he got caught by Guillermo Sanchez.
Yeah, that's going to be a problem for Harmonito. He is leaning back out of the way instead of slipping under the punches or hitting, parrying the punches. He's just leaning back and trying to get out of the way. And then when he does, he's out of range to counter.
Well, there's not many angles that Dela Torre is using. He remains upright. He's a stationary target. He's not moving around the ring in a fashion which one would predicate that he is trying to use his speed, Steve.
No, but he's been very patient, and you can see what he's doing. He's actually looking at what Dela Torre is going to do and just really reacting off of his movement, and he's been very, very effective timing and counterpunching Dela Torre.
Closing moments of this second round.
This is mine.
Round 3 between Harmonito Dela Torre and Guillermo Sanchez. Steve, through 2, how do you have it?
I have it tied 1-1. I thought the second round could have gone either way, but I thought round 1 clearly went to Sanchez. So after 2, 19 all.
And Patrick, we're starting to see more feints by Harmonito Dela Torre to begin the third round.
Yes, and I want to see more of that, and he's pawing with the jab, but he is starting to calm down a little bit and work his way in, like Steve was talking earlier, and when he gets inside, I think that does favor him, especially when he goes downstairs like that.
And Steve, here's something that we haven't seen is the uppercut, and that is what the camp of Dela Torre told us was his best punch.
Yeah, I think what they're going to have to do, listen, I'm not a really big fan of Dela Torre's overhand right. It's very wide, very sweeping. They're going to have to really work at that, and I'm not so sure that's being affected by the southpaw stance of Sanchez again, who backs up Dela Torre. But I think Dela Torre, one thing he has to work on, close the gap and just try to hit from the shoulders down and just try to make consistent contact with the tall southpaw.
Throughout the first minute of this third round, it is Sanchez who is landing shots and is connecting at a higher percentage than that of Dela Torre.
Sanchez is actually the more fundamentally sound fighter of the two.
He is.
But the power and the hand speed is better with Harmonito, so Harmonito's a very unusual fighter. That right hand sort of comes from the side and loops around. It's not your prototype right hand.
Well, it takes what you'd say is a circuitous route. It's not a classic right cross. I don't think Joe Louis would look that up in a textbook. No. But we go back to the seasoning, right? We take a look at the record, and you mentioned guys like Edner Cherry, Edner Broner, Carlos Velasquez. The record obviously speaks for itself, 15, 18, and 1 for Sanchez, but I guarantee you, Harmonito Dela Torre, in formulating this record of 17-0, has never fought the type of opposition that Sanchez has thus far.
When Sanchez is still at the age of 27, and he's not even in the downslope of his physical prime. He's still in his physical prime. He's been in there with a lot of different styles, and on any given night can beat somebody.
Yeah, he's lost 18 out of his last 22. He lost his last 4, but he has, like you said, he's fought so many good fighters, and I think right now Dela Torre's getting a little bit of a lesson here with a guy who knows how to fight in there and is going to be here for the whole fight.
20 seconds to go in this third round between Harmonito Dela Torre and Guillermo Sanchez, as now Dela Torre going to the body of Sanchez, as the guard of Sanchez is unusually high, so to speak. I think it is higher than usual on most fighters. Now he brings it down. And that will conclude round 3. Now let's take a look, a peek into the corner of Harmonito Dela Torre and his trainer, Osmiro Fernandez.
Seneca, tulo ka sumbag mo na. Tag-isa na yung masumbag eh.
¿Qué pasa?
You're in this fight, let's go.
You gotta fucking work, you hear me, son? This kid ain't shit. You let him fight.
Well, the corner.
3, 4, 5 pounds. Please. That's okay?
The corner of Guillermo Sanchez was a little more animated than that of De La Torre, as you saw Armando Munoz slap Guillermo Sanchez as to say, pick it up, you're in this fight.
I don't disagree. I actually think the last 2 rounds, Dela Torre has out-hustled Sanchez, but I do think Sanchez is the cleaner technician, but he's getting beat, at least on my scorecards, through activity.
Patrick, we're seeing immediately that De La Torre is pressing the action, and you have to wonder as he gets caught with the right hook coming inside. But De La Torre has to understand, and you know he probably senses that he cannot allow Guillermo Sanchez to throw more shots, especially with him making his U.S. debut. He wants to make a statement.
Yeah, there's a nice combination by Dela Torre. And, you know, when I saw tape on him, he didn't have to deal with a guy like Sanchez that was crafty. He had guys standing right in front of him, and he could just wail away on him. And here he has to be careful because his aggression could also be his downfall.
Steve, also with Guillermo Sanchez, as De La Torre is throwing power shots, he's moving just enough. He's not the fastest guy, but he moves just enough to his right or to his left. And De La Torre is missing power shots by just like inches.
Yeah, that's what you call veteran craft. This is a guy, again, he's been in with some blue chip talent, and quite frankly, I don't think De La Torre has. And just looking at him technically for the first 3+ rounds, there is some physical talent, pretty strong. He's willing, but I got to tell you, technically and fundamentally, I think you almost have to start him from ground zero as he moves his career to the United States, all the way from the way he sets his feet and the way he has to sit down on his punches. And a lot of those punches are arm punches. They're not really getting a lot of leverage from the legs and the hip. And I think, quite frankly, he looks very amateurish, at least in this fight.
Well, it's almost like a peekaboo style. I mean, it reminds me somewhat similar to Beirut Shumanov when he kind of jumps in, throws some shots, and then gets out. But he needs to sit down on his punches, as he just did, as retreating was Guillermo Sanchez.
Well, he's stunned Sanchez a little bit in this round. I don't want to say he hurt him a lot, but he got his attention. And, you know, when you think of Manny Pacquiao, he doesn't exactly have an orthodox style of fighting. He sort of leaps in and out. And, you know, was he trying to copy him when he was a youth fight up? I don't know.
You know, again, there's only one Manny Pacquiao. And, you know, when Manny Pacquiao came to this country, I still remember it was the summer of 2001. He made his stateside debut against Lelo Lebwaba as a decided underdog. It was actually on the De La Hoya Javier Castillejo undercard in MGM Grand in Las Vegas, and he basically burst onto the scene. But I don't think it's necessarily a fair comparison, not only in talent, but the fact that Manny Pacquiao, by the time he came to the States at that juncture, was already a world champion beforehand. I look at De La Torre as a very, very raw prospect.
20 seconds to go in this fourth round as Harmonito Dela Torre is looking to pick up his first victory in his United States debut against the veteran Guillermo Sanchez.
Yeah, Steve, you know, you're right. It's too much pressure to compare him to somebody like Pacquiao.
And a left hand that stuns De La Torre.
This card came courtesy of James and Patricia Thompson.
Back here at the Seneca Niagara Resort and Casino, round 5 between Harmonito Dela Torre and Guillermo Sanchez. Steve, on your scorecard, how do you have it?
Well, I think after dropping round number 1 and rounds 2, 3, and 4, it's been the activity of Dela Torre which has taken the lead. 39-37 for the Filipino.
Dela Torre, this is a good learning experience for him, as Guillermo Sanchez found success early, but it has been Dela Torre who is out hustling Guillermo Sanchez, and it looks like Dela Torre is in better condition than that of his counterpart.
No, he is, and I think he's on his way to winning this fight unless he runs into a left hand he doesn't see. But Ray, I think they have to be very honest. As you break down the film and you review this performance, there's a lot to be worked on. I think from a very fundamental standpoint, from the way he stands, holds his hands, plants his feet, I'd even go as far as to say I would just get on a heavy bag, and if I was his trainer, literally have him just throw the 1-2 over and over, because you see the right hand. It's a very wide, sweeping right hand.
Well, he caught Guillermo Sanchez right on the button that momentarily buckled his knees, as Sanchez continues to go backwards, and he comes in with that straight left. And also the hands of Dela Torre are low. I mean, they are really, it's surprising in how low they are, and he doesn't get his guard up rather quickly.
No, and he also is very squared up in the upper body. He gives away that center point, as the trainers like to say, and he doesn't really tuck that chin in. But quite frankly, there's not a lot coming back from Sanchez right now, who slowly but surely has now seemingly gone into some sort of survival mode here.
And Patrick, dare I even say that Harmonito Dela Torre seems to be a little bit confused because of the mullet that Guillermo Sanchez has.
Well, he is confused because of the southpaw stance, and you know, there are things that he needs to work on, but the way he throws the right hand and things like that, you know, when you're born round, you don't die square. I think that's just what he is, but that's not to say you can't work on the other points with his stance, his jab, keeping his hands up and those things, but sometimes this is just the way you are, and you're not going to change.
But for Dela Torre, as we look at his body of work, he could have easily shelled up and almost imploded after that first and second round, but he didn't. He remained steadfast in trying to apply his game plan, and he has been winning this fight.
He has been, but you know, you take a look at this record coming in 17-0. I've always had a theory about fighters earlier in their career. No matter what the record is, we don't know if guys are really prospects or suspects. And I get the sense if he moves to 18-0 tonight, which I think he will, that the record may be better than the actual fighter at this juncture.
Break! Final stages of this fifth round between Harmonito Dela Torre and Guillermo Sanchez. From hoops to hockey, the diamond to the gridiron, the morning's most outrageous team has you covered. Don't miss Boomer and Carton weekday mornings starting at 6 Eastern, right here on CBS Sports Network, the 24-hour home of CBS Sports. There you see Osmiro Fernandez trying to talk to Dela Torre. Steve, if you are Fernandez, what are you telling your prospect?
Well, I'm just telling him to close the distance and try to get as close as possible and just really move both hands and don't necessarily aim for the head. He's been effective in just being more busy, just out activitying Guillermo Sanchez throughout the last 3-4 rounds.
Yeah, that is how he's won the fight. And going into this, you know, we were trying to find out, you know, is he more hype than reality? And right now, I'd have to say he is a little bit more hype, but is it also because of the awkward southpaw stance of Sanchez?
When he's taken, you can see that Sanchez, his face is red. So Dela Torre has been doing work. And also, he does have some, when he plants his feet, when he throws that right cross, you see that it is flustering one Guillermo Sanchez, so that he does have some power, just can't he get the technique down to put it all together?
Yeah, as I said earlier in this broadcast, when you make your first U.S. debut showcase type of fight, I'll be honest with you, not a lot of managers dial up a southpaw. Southpaws do everything the wrong way. A lot of trainers consider them poison, and just for this reason, again, it's hard to look good regardless of record against a guy like Sanchez if you are a young fighter that has some technical deficiencies.
Well, everything with him is just a wide left hand followed by a wide right hand, and there really isn't much else. There's no reason they can't get him to work his jab and, you know, mix up his arsenal a little bit more and try to think a little bit more in the ring than just attack.
And also, we spoke about this when it came to Malik Hawkins. If he goes to the body a little bit more, if he can really just focus in on going to the body and then mixing up that jab, I think everything else comes easier for De La Torre.
Well, we take a look at Hawkins. He only had 7 pro fights coming in tonight, and Hawkins still has a lot to work on. But as you take a look at him fundamentally and technically, the way he set the table against Tiger Hall, there's a certain command in terms of his fundamentals that simply right now does not exist for the Filipino.
As De La Torre again is looking to measure Guillermo Sanchez with a left hook, and Sanchez comes forward, throwing that straight left right down the middle. Under a minute to go. This is the 6th round scheduled for 8.
Yeah, right now, it's just sort of a repeat of every round. Harmonito's just coming forward, being more aggressive, out-hustling him, winning the round. But like we've been talking about, he's just not the dynamite that everybody was talking about, at least in this fight.
Well, he just shot a right hand right over the top. I think we see a laceration on the left side of the nose of Guillermo Sanchez. And now Sanchez turns around De La Torre for a brief moment, throws a straight left. But you can see that the father of 5 is seeming to be tiring. And a nice lead right hand there by De La Torre.
Yeah, I don't think there's much left in the tank for Sanchez, and if it was a 10-round fight, or we'll see how he does it the rest of this, how long he could go.
We're gonna go to the 7th round, scheduled for 8. As we peer into the corner of Guillermo Sanchez with his trainer Armando Munoz. As we look at the corner of Osmiro Fernandez, he is a little more from a body standpoint, body language standpoint. He doesn't want to let him off the hook. No. And I think they can kind of sense that. Let's go out and let's really put together a statement in our U.S. debut.
You know, I think if he's honest with himself, Osmiro Fernandez, I think he's going to learn one thing. They've got a lot to work on. You know, Rome was not built in a day, and guys, neither will be Harmonito Dela Torre.
You know what, Patrick? There's talk and there is constant criticism of guys not being moved fast enough. Well, I think De La Torre is one of those guys that needs to be moved along in the right pace and not too fast, not too much, because it doesn't appear as if right now he's got some work to do and he can't bite off more than what he can chew.
Yeah, he has a lot of work to do. You know, like we've been talking about, there's things he needs to go back in the gym and work on, get a jab working for himself, get more angles, be able to slip punches, step around somebody instead of leaning back, because when you do it, when you step away, you're out of range to counter. So you make a guy miss, it doesn't do much other than not get hit. So the long and short of it is, he's not Manny Pacquiao tonight, but it might be a little bit of the awkwardness, and here we see a nice combination by Sanchez.
Well, before that, he got blasted by a straight left, and he shook his head, but he kind of crouched over and moved out of the way. It seemed to really hurt De La Torre for a brief moment, Steve.
No, he did, and I think he was more annoyed than anything else. I'm not so sure that really stunned him all that much, but, you know, this has been a frustrating performance, I believe, for De La Torre. This may have been the first southpaw he's faced, or at least the most difficult one. But you see, again, he's just never really gotten a beat on him, although he does land a lashing right hand right there.
The best punch of the fight for Harmonito Dela Torre. And, you know, Guillermo Sanchez is one of those guys that will be in your face, and he will be around. And to be honest with you, I wonder, you know, he has a lot on his plate. I mean, not only is he a professional fighter, but to be able to have a stable of your own of 5 kids and you're fighting close to home, I'm sure that they don't allow him to rest as much as he would like.
No, you know, it's interesting. We take a look at his career. We mentioned this earlier. He began his career 11-0, and it goes back to what I said before. Matchmaking can mask a lot of deficiencies and flaws, and to a certain degree, we are seeing that with Dela Torre, that even though he's 17-0, and he's actually rated by the WBA at 115 at the junior lightweight class, I think in large part he still has to be treated with kid gloves going forward.
A sweeping right cross that grazes Guillermo Sanchez. Patrick, if you are Guillermo Sanchez, I mean, can he really dig down deep into this 8th round here in front of your family and friends and a lot of people that came out to support you? Can he really find and summon the will to have a terrific performance as we head towards the 8th round?
Well, you know, in the fighter meetings, he talks like that would be the case, and I'd like to see him come out and do that and make a last charge. And in doing that, maybe he'll catch him, hurt him, or at least win the round and go out on his shield. But he also would open himself up to get caught by something big.
That is the end of the 7th round, as we will see a final 8th round coming up. Once again in the corner of Harmonito Dela Torre. There you see one of our lovely ring girls. That is the lovely Stephanie here. Steve, let's go to your scorecards. How do you have it?
You know, it has not been an artistic success, but he has been effective. Harmonito Dela Torre, after dropping round number 1 on my scorecard, has won rounds 2 through 7. So going into the last 3 minutes, 69-64 for Dela Torre.
Thank you very much, Steve. As you see, Dela Torre bounced right back up. A sense of urgency, whereas Sanchez is enjoying every bit of the minute rest period.
Well, in this final round, you would think Dela Torre would come out and let it all hang out. And even though he's ahead, it's his debut in the United States. He's on national television. He's supposed to be carrying the flags of the Philippines and the next Manny Pacquiao, so to speak. So let's see if, well, he's trying right there with that shot. Let's see if he tries to take Sanchez out.
Well, Guillermo Sanchez didn't like it because he thought there was a tie-up, and he thought that Dela Torre hit on the break. And now Guillermo Sanchez says, if you're willing to fight at close quarters and exchange some pleasantries, I will gladly oblige. As now they are going toe-to-toe for a brief moment. A straight left there as Dela Torre gets caught with a straight left right down on the middle.
I would love to see the two of these guys try to win this fight in this final round, meaning let it all hang out. Dela Torre because he needs to impress, and Sanchez because he needs a knockout to win.
Dela Torre is really pressing the action. He is crowding Guillermo Sanchez. And Sanchez is, at times, Steve, he's squaring himself up. I think he is just absolutely gassed.
No, I don't think there's any doubt about it, and he's been in survival mode. He's looking for certain spots where he can catch Dela Torre coming in. Dela Torre does not, again, he's very squared up at times, and he throws a very wide, sweeping right hand. That's probably his best opportunity to catch lightning in a bottle. But one thing that Dela Torre has shown tonight that I do like, good physical strength, and it looks like he has a pretty good set of whiskers.
Well, also, I mean, at times he's fast. I mean, this young man is fast. He gets, when he throws, his hand speed is terrific when he throws that right cross. And when he moves his body and puts himself in position to get a lot of leverage behind his punches, he could be dangerous.
You know, Ray, you look at his physical stature, and he is built like you want a 130-pounder. And like you said, he's got good physical tools. But I just think the command and the overall fundamentals and the foundation are really lacking. I think there's a lot of work to be done moving forward. Another good right hand from that lands on Sanchez.
Yeah, one of the best right hands of the night by Dela Torre.
Well, he's got the physical tools. He could be erratic at times. some more technique, and De La Torre could be a force to be reckoned with. But despite all that, it looks like he will remain undefeated, barring any miraculous Buffalo Bills-like come-from-behind victories, a la what they did to the Houston Oilers back years ago.
1992 wild card weekend. Remember that vividly.
But it doesn't look like that is to be the case, unlike Jim Kelly and Thurman Thomas. Final moments as Harmonito Dela Torre should be en route to a victory over Guillermo Sanchez in an entertaining fight here in Niagara Falls. There you see Guillermo Sanchez. He is being treated by his Armando Munoz. And we will come back to get the official scorecards, as there you see Harmonito Dela Torre with his camp and his trainer Osmiro Fernandez as they are overlooking their undefeated prospect. We'll come back and get the decision and get set for our main event here in Niagara Falls as more boxing continues here on the CBS Sports Network. If there's a story to tell in the sports world, Adam Shine is excited to put his spin on it. Don't miss Time to Shine, weeknights at 6 Eastern, right here on the 24-hour home of CBS Sports. As we go to the scorecards with Harmonito Dela Torre and Guillermo Sanchez standing by with the decision. Here's David Diamante.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 8 rounds of action, we go to the judges' scorecards. Terry Johnson scored this bout 76-76 even. Don Ackerman 78-74. And Tom Schreck scored this contest 77-75, both for your winner by majority decision. He's still undefeated. From General Santos City in the Philippines, Harmonito Dela Torre.
Harmonito Dela Torre gets a majority decision. A little stunned at 76-76. Steve, Kim, you and I are befuddled.
I thought, quite frankly, it was very difficult, despite the flaws of Dela Torre, not to give him almost every round from 2 through 8. My personal score card had it 79-73, but I think the scores, Patrick, are indicative of one thing. The judges kind of saw what we saw, a very flawed young fighter.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, he leaps in, he's easy to counter, and you know, he was countered at times, but there's no way the score should have been 76-76, but your point is very well made. We talked about whether he was going to live up to the hype, and on one hand you say no, he did not live up to the hype, but who could live up to Manny Pacquiao? I mean, that's just too difficult to ask for. But and then on the other hand, you got to give Sanchez credit. He's an awkward fighter. He's a southpaw, so it might have been a little bit of both tonight, Steve.
Speaking of hype, Jarrell Big Baby Miller has a lot of that behind him. Can he live up to the lofty expectations? We'll come back with our main event of the evening as Jarrell Miller collides against Nick Vivas. There's a very happy Harmonito Dela Torre. Our main event coming up next right here on CBS Sportsnet.